The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of its hosts and owners and in no way represent the views of the people, institutions, or organizations that Scenic City Sports is involved with in a professional or personal capacity. Thanks for watching and enjoy the show.
And welcome to another edition of Scenic City Sports Tonight. Scott, Rob, and Rusty turning the dials on this, what day is this? The 12th.
The 12th.
12th day of June.
12th day of June.
I'm still trying to get my bearings from vacation.
Well, yeah, I know you
You lose track of days real quick.
You spent your vacation, it seemed like the Griswolds, as much in the car as you were anywhere else.
2,538 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I said I'm glad I didn't go with Scott because I've seen that movie and there's a whole lot of mishaps that take place when you stay in your car and you go from coast to coast.
We were 10 states over 8 days. Went up through Kentucky, barely cut into Ohio for a little bit, Indiana for a little bit, saw relatives right outside Chicago, toured Chicago, did Route 66 all the way to Oklahoma City, and then took a right and went across through Arkansas. Got to go back to Hot Springs again, and got to actually spend the night in Hot Springs like we weren't able to last year.
And I did see that you had either a 3-way or a 5-way, you know what I'm talking about, in the city of Cincinnati.
We're in a place called Dry Ridge, Kentucky, right outside of Lexington.
I thought you was in Cincinnati when you were. So that
technically
meal
in
has
Kentucky.
migrated down into Kentucky.
Oh yeah. You can buy Skyline chili at Walmart in Fort Oglethorpe.
Okay, well
it's almost the same. It's not like freshly made, but it's really good stuff. But yeah, we got to go through Arkansas last year. So
you didn't stop in East St. Louis, did you, and have all your tires removed and things like that?
No, but we did see the sign for East St. Louis, and all I could think of was that scene in my head from Vacation.
Don't go that direction.
Yeah, let's just veer around here. No, but like I said, we skirted around St. Louis and on the trip down to Oklahoma City, and then cut back across and stayed at the Arlington. If anybody's never been to Hot Springs, not familiar with Hot Springs, let me paint this picture for you. First of all, this hotel, you might have seen on my Facebook page, it's the second version of this hotel. The first version was built in 1875 and fire destroyed it several years later. This one, I believe, opening night was New Year's Eve 1924, and Al Capone stayed there.
He also stayed at the Reed House, so that we got something.
Well, Al Capone stayed there so much that he had his own suite. Matter of fact, the nameplate is on the door. It's the Al Capone suite. And he would rent out the entire 4th floor for his gang. And according to either reports or rumors or whatever, he had a secret passage that left through the hotel down under the city streets. Hot Springs was notorious because this is where the gamblers and the mob hung out on vacation because the police left them alone. And the police at times would even try to help them out and maybe hide them a little bit. Because they came into the city, they spent a bunch of money with gambling, even though it was technically illegal at the time. It wasn't.
And went back to Chicago and let Chicago have their problems.
So while all this is going on, and Capone is there, and Dillinger, and Bonnie and Clyde, and all these other people that went through Hot Springs, Arkansas, guess what else is in Hot Springs, Arkansas? The birth of spring training baseball.
That's right. There you go.
Back in the 1880s.
That's
so
right.
It also has this historic baseball trail, which I got to do a little bit of it, not much. I'm going to go back and do it again eventually, but like there's this one field, and there's nothing there on it right now. It's just an open field.
And I think there's a rumor of a tape measure home run by Babe Ruth.
They measured it off. This park that you drive through on this trail shows a plaque, and you can see the spot where he supposedly
hit a baseball.
It was measured at 573 feet.
Yeah.
But the field that I saw was called Fogle Field, which was named for, I think, the Phillies' old manager, whatever. And the Pittsburgh Pirates eventually used this as their spring training facility while they were there. It was built in 1912. Grover Cleveland Alexander played on that field. Cy Young was in training camp there. Babe Ruth was in Hot Springs 9 times. It's just so much history between the mob part of it and the spring training baseball. Not to mention the Hot Springs itself. It's an incredible city. If you've never been, it's a whole lot of fun.
Well, and I would imagine back in that era, to get that far south, that was almost like being somewhere in the middle of Florida.
Oh yeah,
to them at that time.
They all came because they said that the hot springs and that water, you can still feel that water. And we're talking, I think it said it got up to like 147 degrees, so it's enough to burn you. And some of the hotels will still pipe it into the hotel rooms and stuff. But just the fact you've got all that going on in one place.
Well, and bringing in the Lakeview Cowboy here, Rusty Parkhill, he has put us on some special beach for the moment. I don't know which beach that is, Rusty.
I have you guys in Mexico at the moment.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
We are in Mexico. Well,
just putting a pretty background behind you because I was working on a couple.
I was trying to figure out where that was.
All right, now
speaking of golf, I will say this real quick.
Golf.
Grant Langford, rising senior at Lafayette High School, won the 86th annual chicken dinner tournament today in Lafayette. You talk about a popular win. That kid has been walking that course since he was old enough to walk, and he actually was in the final group 2 years ago. Would have been the youngest player to ever win it. Wasn't able to get that win, but today he finds himself in a playoff with another really good player, and ended up getting a birdie on the first hole and wins the tournament. One of the youngest winners ever.
And his name again?
Grant Langford.
Grant Langford, congratulations.
17 years old.
Congratulations.
And I believe it's the oldest tournament in the state of Georgia.
If it's not the oldest, it's in the
It's
top
one
2 or
of,
3.
yeah.
It's going to say
86 version of that tournament.
I've played in the chicken dinner a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a fun tournament. They use if you've never played in it, it's a 2-day tournament. Saturday is used for the purposes, or the way they used to do it. I don't know if they still do it this way, but Saturday was used for the purposes of seating, so that you could come down there.
Figure out the flights.
And they flighted you based on your score on Saturday, and then you play straight up on Sunday. And the thing about the chicken dinner is there are a lot of people that play that tournament that play it year in and year out. So it's really hard to be that sandbagging guy that comes in there and, goes out there and shoots like 85 on Saturday and then comes back and shoots 71 on Sunday. You don't see that very often anymore because there's enough people down there that play it regularly, enough people that'll call somebody out in a second that you don't see that anymore.
Yeah. But like I said, a popular win. I saw a bunch of Lafayette alumni were down there rooting him on, and like I said, it was just a great win, just a great win for that young man.
And certainly hot.
It was warm.
Certainly hot.
It was warm. It's not. It wasn't the hottest I've ever been at that tournament, but it was. It was toasty. It was about 90 degrees today.
Well, while you were there, I amongst a lot of other baseball/Tennessee fans, and I was having this conversation with Rusty before you got here, Scott. Epic loss today for a program that had so much on the line. Now, let me kind of get to a point that I ask you a question. Virtually number one all year. After the first week of baseball, they turned into number one and held on to it without much conversation about who should be ahead of them. They go on to win the SEC and then the SEC tournament. Scott, they accomplished a lot this year, but today in that loss, did they lose more than they accomplished? And you can have that argument because again, most people saw them, even though history wasn't on the side of the number one ranked team, as we've been listening to since 1999. Only Miami was the one that pulled that stunt off. But this was a very, very talented team, but not having the opportunity to get into Omaha and win Omaha. Does everything else kind of take a back seat to not getting to be in that spot?
Depends on your perspective. Right now, it just happened a couple hours ago. So, yeah, right now it feels like the season was a failure. Ask me that in a couple months when you kind of look back and see what all this team was able to accomplish. 150 home runs or whatever it was, and led or close to leading the country in ERA. Yeah. For my money, greatest college baseball team ever assembled at Division I level. Mm. Still is. Now, they didn't win the national championship, so I know some people are taking me to task for saying that. Mm-hmm. But I stand by what I said. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's been a better combination of pitching and hitting in one baseball team at the Division I college level that I've ever seen. I've been watching it for 40 some odd years.
Yeah, and let's just use Mississippi State this year and last year. I mean, a team that wins a national championship and obviously loses a good portion of that team to graduation or / being drafted, and they struggle this year. I think Tennessee's team's still going to bring back enough talent to be a very formidable club, but I don't know if it'll be anywhere near what this club is, because there's a good group of kids that are graduating / being drafted off this team.
This team had a chemistry that was undeniable, and whether you liked them, whether you didn't, whether you thought they were brash and bold and arrogant and cocky and classless, that's for you to decide. That team embraced that role. And every single sport, every single league, you need somebody to wear a black hat. Whether it's Duke basketball or Notre Dame football or
Oakland Raiders,
whatever the case is, you need somebody that's willing to step up and be that villain. And Tennessee embraced that role. And you can say that was a bad thing and act like you've been here before. Okay, that's fine. But that team fed off that negative energy from everybody else and did all season long. I think the best team today lost the game.
Yeah.
To a team that just had a better day.
Well, had a better final 3 innings.
And had a better coaching decision as far as the pitching goes.
Yeah, and Tennessee's coach even brought some of that conversation up after the game that it's easy to second guess yourself, and I'm sure he's doing that long by now. But I think he brought it upon himself that he wasn't willing to make the hard decisions that a coach at that level needed to make. And he made a decision. I think he made a decision at that point in time that this kid had been really, really good on the mound all day.
Yeah.
But had we gone long enough, and you had fresh arms out there.
Yeah.
Let's give this, and this Notre Dame team, Scott, I don't know if you heard them talking about that through the series, loaded with seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Loaded up with seniors.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean they're going to be MLB players, but they're just older kids that are out there that know how to play themselves.
And Coach Vitello, he probably subscribes to the theory of, dance with who brought you. And, but the kid he just pitched, game 1? And they brought him back for game 3? Is that right? Did I hear that right?
That's not right.
Is that not right?
No. He'd been out there, but he pitched well.
Yeah, and
his pitch count wasn't really high at all. But then all of a sudden, within a couple of batters, momentum is in the third base dugout. And
hey, coaches make calls that don't go right, and he made a call that didn't pan out, and that's coaching.
Well, and it is, and and then you had in the first game, you had one of their better players get ejected who didn't get to play yesterday, got to come back today. The pitching coach didn't get to see the rest of the series, but there again, the question, and some people would ask this in this, they had an outstanding season. They accomplished a whole lot for a program up until the last few years haven't been accomplishing those types of things, right? So he's got that
one
thing.
game away from Omaha 2 years in a row.
He's got. Well, they were actually in Omaha last year. If you remember, they got beat 2 straight.
I thought they lost in the Super. No,
they were there.
Okay,
but they went out early. But they were there, and he brought back even a better team this year.
And just got a kid coming in from Kansas that's projected as a top 10 major league draft pick.
Yeah, and again, when you get a program up and running like that, then good things are going to keep following in that respect. But the question would be asked: with all the accomplishments that took place today, losing this series, did you lose more than you gained? And you could argue, because you're not going to get the opportunity to play for a national championship even that most people thought you could win.
Yeah, and it hurts and it stings, and it will hurt and sting for a long, long time, because this team was definitely good enough to win it all.
But there again, let me say this from a big positive standpoint.
But then again, but at the same time, you've also got your name out there. Players have seen you. Maybe that encourages even better players to come to Tennessee and try to get them.
I don't think they'll stop getting good ball players, but in that respect, because he's made baseball in a really short period of time, he's made baseball important again in Knoxville.
Yes.
And that wasn't that. By the way, that facilities were let go. I mean, there's turf down now thanks to his input, but those facilities are way behind what they need to be, and now they're going to spend $50 million in trying to catch them up. But they weren't willing to do that before because they weren't winning, and that's why we weren't going to do it.
You have to go back to '95 and Todd Helton to find the last time the team had made Omaha.
Up until last year,
there had been a few years here and there where they had good seasons, but nothing consistent.
The coach, his name is
Delmonico
got him there. Then started having a little bit of inconsistencies, but after Delmonico, after letting him go, what took place from that point on was disastrous. They hired bad twice.
Yeah. So, I guess to answer your question,
some would say yes, some would say no. But again, it was an epic loss today.
It was.
It really was.
It was. There's, you can't debate that. But I think in time heals all wounds, and I think it'll be kind of easier to take the loss.
But does it?
No.
I mean, I always love it when people.
It's not.
When people take a minute and they look back at these situations, and that's when you get all the pearls of wisdom. Time heals all wounds. Everything, whatever. I can still, as a sports fan and as a sports fan of particular teams, I can still remember specific losses that still haunt me to this day, and some of them are 25 and 30 years later. Every time I see the catch in the NFL playoffs, and I watched Dwight Clark reach up there and snag that ball out of the air by his fingertips.
What do you think the Bills fans think of?
It's like a dagger to the heart. I mean, every time I watch Christian Laettner hit that stupid turnaround jump shot in the '92 East Regional Final, it's a dagger to the heart. Every time I think about the Cowboys being 13-3, 3 different occasions, almost 4 different occasions in the last 15 seasons, and not coming even out of the divisional round of the playoffs as a result of that, it hurts.
Yeah.
And time makes it better. It doesn't suck as bad. I don't wake up in the middle of the night pissed and trying to take a swing at something, but it don't make it better.
But he did bring up his 2 homer programs, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm telling you, as a fan of those 2 teams, I remember that. As a fan of the Braves, I remember key moments in World Series that ripped my heart out.
Yeah, well, I mean, because most people thought that by winning one, and that's great, but there was probably more meat on the bone that didn't get taken.
Let's put it this way. If last year, if the Braves had lost in the World Series, let's say they lose in Game 7, 4-3, it would be easier to look back at that season and say, that was a really good year. They weren't even expected to finish where they finished, and for them to come within 1 game of winning the World Series, that's a great year.
Yeah, because they didn't get to that spot until August.
No. But when you look back on a season when just like Tennessee baseball was, when they were one of the quintessential programs all year long, and as Scott's even over there saying, realistically could be one of the number 1 programs of all time, that one's going to hurt for a while.
Well, 57 wins, Scott. It does go down. It does go down in one of those records in regular season of all-time win-loss records.
I'll say this: as far as I'm concerned, it sucks. It will always suck.
Right.
I will never get over it. Maybe other people will.
That's what I was looking for.
But I am.
He's coming around.
No,
around.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. But
diplomatic, whatever, man. That ain't our style.
I will speak for me. No, I will never get over.
Well, it was an epic loss.
Just like I will never forgive Lonnie Smith for getting duped at second base.
Otis Smith for trying to drag bunt with 2 outs to go in the 9th inning against the Blue Jays.
Bobby Cox for putting Charlie Liebrandt in to face Kirby Puckett in Game 6.
Preach.
We were having this conversation at the Braves game the other day about how there were 6 or 7 World Series titles that should be in that trophy case.
Yeah, there was some.
When you squander the greatest pitching staff of all time.
And when you ever let those big 3 pitchers talk, it almost wants to come out of their mouth. It seems sometimes, man, we left some out there, but we're glad we got the one.
I don't see how
and
they
the
can't
one's
be
really hard to
disappointed.
get, and the one we got's really hard to get. I understand all that, but you're right. When you got 3 pitchers, Hall of Fame pitchers like that, not too many people roll that out there.
No. They didn't even need a 4th starter.
But
Especially in the playoffs.
But
we
they
always
always
said-
had that luxury.
But we always did say that they didn't have offensively a deep enough lineup to match that
They
pitching
never
staff.
hit enough in the playoffs.
No,
against good pitchers.
they didn't.
If
No, they
that
didn't.
Braves team in the 90s had this Braves lineup,
Oh yeah, they didn't come close to having these Braves lineups being
no,
that deep.
this, I was talking to Scott the other night when they were, I think y'all were at the game. I think when I first talked to you, or you were coming home from it or something.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the last couple of times we've been to Braves games. If you go back years, I remember going to Braves games when you might see 1 home run if you were lucky, and then sometimes you could go down there 3 or 4 games in a row and never see a home run. And now the last 4 Braves game I've went to, I've seen no less than at least 3. Sometimes 4.
Yeah, we saw 4.
Yeah, 4 the other night. We saw them play Milwaukee a couple of years ago, and there was like 5 home runs hit total in that game.
Well, they can hit them from 1 through 9.
Yeah, and it's not just the Braves. You're liable to see the other team reel off a couple as well. This modern era of baseball, that's just, the long ball is what it's all about, and that's what you see more so than you ever did really in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is over, Scott. It's gonna be reminisced
over.
again next weekend because we're gonna be watching the College World Series and Big Orange. Well, Big Orange ain't gonna be out there.
Can't do it now.
And that's gonna be sad.
You done lost my attention.
And again, this is a team that it will be hard pressed, in my opinion. It'll be very hard pressed to bring back a roster that is as good as this one because there's so much talent that's leaving this team this year due to graduation and being drafted that that's just really hard to replace. Now, even if we replace them with younger kids that are going to be phenoms, they hadn't seen the field yet.
Right.
They haven't seen the field
It
yet.
takes time. Every team is. I heard coaches say this all the time, especially a team that may have only lost a couple players and brings back everybody else from a really good team, and they all say the same thing. It's a different team.
It's a different
Even one
team.
or two, it's a different makeup. It's a different chemistry, which has to take time to form. So
Yeah, you used the kid, the first baseman today that now has gone down the all-time home run hitter, but there's an asterisk there, in my opinion, because he's played 5 years. So that's 5 into those numbers, okay? Now, those numbers probably got bigger for him as time went on, but, Todd Helton probably put those numbers together pretty close in 2.5 years.
Yeah, I think. Does he not get enough credit for how good he was?
And I don't
even
think
as a major league player.
Yeah, and that's switching gears, but the argument on him going towards the Hall of Fame is the asterisk. Well, he played in Colorado. Well, so what? He played in Colorado.
Major League Baseball put a team in Colorado.
He got to play there. All right. But he had to go on the road half the season, year 2 as well. So he played there. You can't hold that against him.
I've always said Hideo Nomo deserves being in the Hall of Fame because he threw a no-hitter at Coors Field.
Yeah, you can't hold that against
Just for that
him
one
because he
performance.
played there.
Yeah.
All his numbers say Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, and let's not forget, for a brief time, he was a pretty decent quarterback.
Beat Georgia.
Yeah,
Until he decided that baseball was baseball was his ticket. And he better
I just
stick
think
with
that there's certain guys that are just phenomenal athletes, and I think Todd Helton's one of those athletes. I don't think he's ever going to get, like Scott says, I just don't think he's going to get the credit that he deserves. He deserves it. He deserves it going away.
And he didn't even start that season. Jerry Colquitt started and blew
Yeah.
his knee out 7 plays in the UCLA game, and Helton. They put him in there. They put Peyton Manning and put Brandon Stewart in there, and then Helton kind of got the start against Georgia because it was a conference game and won. And then the next week he kind of struggled, and they let the freshman kind of flip flop until Peyton won the job. And
I watched Peyton
Then
play.
he quit the sport.
I was
then he quit
in
playing,
Knoxville that year for the Alabama game and watched Peyton get his first start against Alabama that true freshman year, and he didn't lose to him again after that, and he could have won that one.
Yeah, James Stewart. Fumbled at the one.
And
Fumbles at the one.
now, thanks to the Lakeview Cowboy, we are sitting in amen corner.
That's right.
And from this approach shot out, Scott, are you going for it or are you laying it? You're about 220 out.
Am I behind or am I ahead?
Well, you're 220 out. Are you going to hit it in the water?
Just
You're
say
in contention.
period.
You're in contention.
Yeah, you're in contention.
You made the cut.
Yeah, of course I'm going for it.
Really? Okay, so you're going to be up there dropping like all the other silly ones.
Have at it, bud.
He's not a professional golfer.
No.
He wouldn't have said that.
No,
Drop.
it's risk reward because I've seen that tournament enough to know if I get that thing on the green, I've got a good shot at an eagle putt, and I gain 2 shots at best, and almost guaranteed to pick up one on the field.
That is quite true, but you also know that if you blow that shot through the back of the green and wind up in that pine straw or in that sand right there, you could bring in a 7 or an 8
and be out of the
because
tournament.
you've got to play that very touchy, very soft.
You can't
hands.
let that hole beat you.
No.
So,
And
again,
what he just said,
you can't.
what he just said he was going to do.
But again, that's why I asked, am I leading the tournament?
You can let that hole beat you to
trying
death. I mean,
if
now
I'm
that-
leading the tournament and I got a cushion, no, I'm not. But if I'm behind,
Tin cup.
then I've got
That's right.
I've got to make up a shot. Yeah, I'm going for it.
Nobody's finished an open at 10 under roams. Not even Nicholas.
Tin cup here's going to hit it out there in the water 4 or 5 times.
Give me another ball.
So, what did you think of Live Golf?
I think it's about what I expected. I mean, I'm not. I've had a lot of time since the last time that we talked about this to really sit back and reflect on it a little bit. And I tell you, my opinions on some of it have changed a little bit. The golf's golf. They're going to go out there and they're going to play between the ropes just the same as they're going to play on the PGA Tour as they are on the Live Golf Tour. Something that stuck with me a little bit this week in watching some of the press conferences and things like that is all those golfers have this big-ass chip on their shoulder right now, and they have these pre-prepared talking points that they've been handed by their PR guy.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, number one, that's already taking one of the fun aspects of golf away because you don't have the characters kind of being the characters. Part of what makes Bryson DeChambeau is when you stick a microphone in his face, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
If you're taking that aspect away from him, that takes some of his character away. I mean, I hate to talk like in terms of wrestlers, but to me, you're taking some of his character away by not allowing him to just shoot from the hip. And I'm noticing that it's quite pre-prepared when they talk and things of that sort. And, more power to
You think
them.
that changes later as they get a little more
Man, I don't
established?
know. I'll be honest. I think part of what I really got to wrestling with is, in the end, you're taking this money from the Saudis.
Yeah.
Now, you can believe what you want to believe politically, and you can take a look at this or you can take a look at that, but they don't exactly have the greatest reputation throughout the world. And that's who you're taking your money from. And so I think you're always going to have that aspect of them trying to protect the image because they don't like reporters and photographers and people stirring the pot at all. They're going to want a constant static image put out there. They're going to want that static image to be as kosher as possible. And I think you're going to wind up with this homogenized version every week because I feel like they know what they're up against, they know what their image is, and they're going to do everything they can to rehab that image. And if that means that they control every last aspect of that tour, they'll control every last aspect of that
Which
tour.
would also lead you to believe that this wasn't shortcoming in preparing for this organization. It was long coming. That not only did we have to put the money up and it has to be sweet, we also have to kind of have our version of how this plays out as well, even from legality standpoint.
That's where I'm getting at. I mean, like, one thing is I had a chance, obviously now that we're on summer break from school, I've had a chance to watch the Dan Patrick Show more this week than I have in a while. I've gotten a chance to watch some first time, just all of the sports shows that we all normally watch. I've kind of got a chance to watch them live and listen to some of the talking heads and stuff. And for every person that defends those guys for their decision, there's 10 that are just wearing them out.
Yeah.
And the majority of them are wearing them out more so for who they've gotten in bed with, as opposed to them taking the chance to go elsewhere. Because let's be honest, if this was the European tour and the European tour just decided, you know what, we're going to make our footprint in the world bigger. We're going to pay these appearance fees. We've got all this money. We're going to sign these guys to play over here full time. If that was the European tour, how many people do you really think would even raise an eyebrow?
Not many.
No, because most of these guys play on the European tour 3 or 4 times a year. I mean, you know, if you're Tiger back in his heyday and you knew, hey, I'm going to take the family to London for a month to get ready for the British Open, and hey, while I'm over there, I'm going to play this tune-up event leading into the British Open. You know, it's a similar course, 2 weeks ahead of time. You know, I'm sure they'll let me play.
That was common.
Yeah. And now I hear Dustin Johnson's applied to be on the European tour too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's to protect his aspects of getting to play in the majors.
And did I see this correctly too? Not only was there the frontage of big dollars to certain ones, I don't know about everybody in that respect. I hadn't heard everybody come out and say they were given that kind of upfront money, but this first purse was $4 million.
$4 million to the winner.
To the winner.
That was the individual purse. Then you had a team.
Can I ask you what?
Then the team got $3 million that they spent.
Well, can I ask you what the winner gets at the Masters?
Hold on, I can tell you.
I'm gonna say it's not $4 million.
I don't know if it is. I think last place in this tournament got $120,000.
Okay, but again, if you win the Masters, do you get $4 million? So you're telling me they come out with their first tournament and they pay $4 million to the winner?
Okay, so the Masters 2022 purse payouts. Let's see. A record $15 million purse, a significant rise over last year's $11.5 million total pool. This represents $2.7 million for the winner and at least $37,800 each for everyone who made the cut. So if you made the cut at the Masters, you made at least $37,800.
So 2.7 to arguably our biggest show, and they handed out $4 million to their first show.
Here's the top 10 at the Masters: 2.7 first, 1.6 second, 1 million third, 720, 600, 540, 502, 465, 435, and 405, and that's the top 10.
Yeah.
Now let's see comparable.
Well, he's looking at. Let me tell you the stat that I heard the other day. Tiger Woods, in his entire professional career, dating back to 1996, not counting his endorsements and stuff like that, just what he has won from tournaments,
golf,
not appearance fees, actual career earnings in golf is $121 million. Dustin Johnson got $150 million signing bonus.
Okay, so
I mean, gosh almighty, if that's not a
one stroke of a pen,
some heavy bait that you're fishing with there.
So here is the Live Golf Invitational final purse, prize money payouts for entire field in London. Charles Schwartzel, winner, $4 million. Second place, $2.1 million. Third place, $1.5. Fifth place, and there was a tie for third and fourth. Both received $1.5 million. Fifth place was $975,000. Sixth place, $800,000. Eighth place, $625,000 because there was a tie at sixth. Ninth place, $580,000, and 10th place, $560,000.
Well,
all the way down to last place in the tournament, which was 48th, and the gentleman that finished 48th made $120,000.
So is there something more to it than just money that's made these guys run? Were they dissatisfied with other things?
There's a few things that the tour has done that some of the players don't like.
And by the way, the winning team won $3 million. Yeah. Second place team 1.5, third place $500,000.
Yeah. So Schwartzel probably made close to
5.
Yeah, close to 5.
I think you've got.
They've got some complaints and got some gripes.
There are some complaints, yes.
But yeah, for the most part, they're going because of the money.
Okay.
And how
And
yes, if you can resolve from your own conscience where the money's from,
Where I'm taking this money from.
but
which obviously
man,
some have. Pretty fast.
100 million, 150 million just to come
And
play.
well,
in the events.
Mickelson, if I heard this correctly, was 200.
And apparently they offered Tiger close to $1 billion.
But there again, he's got a lot of money.
He doesn't need. He's a billionaire now. He doesn't need it.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine?
Why would you give him $1 billion at this moment when he can't maybe finish a
Because
tournament?
he's Tiger Woods.
But if you're a tour player
How many people
that's struggling to make the cut, and all of a sudden this group's going to give you $15 million just to come play in the events?
Okay, let's be real honest.
How do you turn that down?
I mean, let's be real honest. If you're at best a journeyman pro and they're offering you that kind of money, $1 million in the bank and you'll never have to work another day in your life, you'll think about it for $500,000 to $1 million. You'll seriously consider it.
And us being guys that's talked wrestling as much as we've talked anything, and we've always talked about the WCW days versus the WWF days, and then when one finally conquered the other and it was just one, that's the only place that you can work at, right? If you're going to be big time. And we said what it was good for was to have competition. Now, if prior to this, and you mentioned the European League, but that's nowhere in comparison, financially speaking, as the PGA, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make the same money, and so now there is a plan B. There is a plan B that was never really on the table.
The commissioner was on the broadcast today, the PGA Tour commissioner, and he was talking about how, he was talking about this past tournament that they just, the Live Tour just finished, and talking about, well, it's basically an exhibition match. It's basically an exhibition match. I'm like, well, what do you call yours? What is this for? It's a 4-day tournament for what?
For I mean, let's be honest. The casual
look, and I understand. He's ticked off that some of his best players have left. He's ticked off that they're going for money. Okay, but dude, just get over it. They're gone. They're gone. And he's like, well, if any player goes over there, they're suspended. Well, they'd already resigned. So look, yes, it looks bad for your tour. Okay, I get it, but just there's nothing you can do about it now.
How many they lost so far?
15-ish.
16 or 17, yeah.
And with
Pat Perez left
and you
today.
got a
Patrick
few,
Reed's
and I
gone.
guess you got a few sitting back there saying, well, let me see how this plays out.
There's rumors of another one that might be headed on.
Well, I mean, one of the big things with, take golf, for instance, just as an in general. The average sports fan ain't watching the Greater Greensboro Open. They ain't watching the John Deere Classic. They're not there. There's about, and I'll be honest, as an avid golfer,
the average sports fan, the golf enthusiast probably is watching.
I am an avid golfer, so if I turn the TV on the weekend and golf is on, I will sit here and watch for a little while. Okay, but if I'm being honest, outside of the 4 majors, the only tournaments that I really give a hoot to watch, I like to watch the MCI Heritage, which is at Hilton Head, because I've just always liked to watch that golf course. I watch the Players Championship, again, because I watch it to see the golf course. I watch the Pebble Beach Pro-Am for the golf course. There's 5 or 6 that I will always watch at least a little bit if it's on, because I want to see Torrey Pines. I want to see Spyglass Hill, Spanish Bay, Pebble Beach. I want to see the Memorial. I want to see Bay Hill. There's a few of those golf courses that I want to see. And the reason I want to see them is because they're historic. Because I can look at that fairway at, any one of the U.S. Open golf courses and say, Hogan hit a shot from right there. Sarazen hit a shot from right there. Rodriguez hit a shot from right there. I could care less about a lot of the other crap, because that's the equivalent of NASCAR building a bunch of cookie cutter racetracks in the Midwest and the North and running a bunch of races that look identical to each other every year.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch those few events. Now, the average sports fan will lose interest in this Live Tour once the new wears off. Unless they can come in there and stroke ginormous checks to some of these big-time courses in the world, it will be the exact same thing. The average sports fan could give a crap less about clubs they've never heard of.
That does carry some weight.
You want to see this? You want to see the scenery.
Yeah, it does
Or
carry some weight.
you want to see the names.
Or you want to see the names.
And you look at today, the Royal Canadian Open?
Yeah.
I don't care about the Canadian Open. But then I looked at the big screen when I was at the golf course today. Rory McIlroy's at the top. Justin Thomas is at the top of the leaderboard. Tony Finau. Hey, I'll watch this.
I'll watch that.
And that's what I think the Live Tour is trying to do, because they're trying to get Dustin Johnson and Bryson DeChambeau, and they're trying to get the big names as possible, because they know, some of this competition may not be everybody's cup of tea, but if they like those golfers, they're going to tune in and watch.
All right, follow me on this one. Can you imagine, and I don't know exactly how much money has to change hands, I don't know exactly whose palms have to be greased to make something like this happen, but everybody knows the biggest rivalry in all of golf is Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. They despise one another. They want even, most of the time, won't even utter each other's names. If you're one of those primetime golf matches and can have anybody you want, and you got DeChambeau over there kicking ass on the Live Tour, Brooks comes back to form on the PGA Tour, and somebody tosses that out there.
They just did that.
And they did that last year.
They did, but they didn't do that with the two of them on competing
That's
tours.
true. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. When you got the two of those guys on competing tours, I mean, how much money, what's that conversation like when Commissioner Gary Bettman pulls Brooks Koepka over and is like, hey, listen, I don't want to throw all this pressure on you or anything, but we're really counting on you right here, buddy.
Or better yet, what if we get to a point where you can have a Ryder Cup style match between the PGA Tour and Live Golf?
And right now, it appears, I heard some talking heads say that it appears that the Live Tour players are on the outs of being part of that. But yet, you've got another idea here. Maybe there can be three teams that are formed.
It's going to take a while. See, this is like the old AFL, NFL.
This is in a lot of ways, this is like the first time you put the dream team together. If you went to the PGA Tour and said, okay, no holds barred, we don't care where they're from, put together your ultimate Ryder Cup, and you've got carte blanche as to who you can go out there and pick. Mm-hmm. Imagine being a Ryder Cup imagine being that guy and told that in 1983. Norman, Seve, Watson, Nicholas. I mean, it's Player, Trevino. I mean, it's literally a Hall of Fame squad. It's just like you're at this point, if they turned you loose, I don't care what the Live tournament has.
Sorry,
they will absolutely.
I'm not laughing at you. I just had this image in my head that I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. But it doesn't matter what the Live tournament has. The Live golf crew has.
Yeah.
You're not going to compete. You are not going to compete. I don't care who you've got over there, unless you are able to get 10 or 12 of the top 20. If you put yourself in a Ryder Cup type situation and you allow the PGA to just put their best 12 players on the golf course, they will hand you your behind.
But keep in mind, those teams are not picked solely on popularity. They're picked on how well you played that year.
They're picked on your stats, but the Ryder Cup. But what I'm getting at though, Rob, is in a regular Ryder Cup situation, I got the U.S. team on this side, and I got the Europe team on this side. If the PGA is allowed to go ahead and take the best of the best, and I can take the best from Europe and the best from the U.S., so I've got Rory, and I've got Justin Thomas. It's a who's who of the current population.
Because let's argue this from a standpoint that the U.S. team could be playing as underdogs if the Europeans get to get their
team.
guys,
Yes.
and we're getting what's kind of left.
We're getting the best of both worlds right there. We're getting all the best European guys, the best of our guys. I mean, what do you?
I just have this image of this like championship match between the PGA Tour and the Live Tour, and they're on 18, and Rory is aiming up a putt, a 3-footer to win it all, and his playing partner Brooks Koepka comes out of the, all of a sudden shows up with a chair, hits him in the back, rips off the shirt, and he's got the Live Golf shirt on.
Stabbed him in the back.
It's like the NWO. They've turned heel on their partner and defected to another league.
Well, let's take. Speaking of, let's take this last this last few minutes here, and
he's with the Live Tour.
And let's talk about that. I mean, we have. So in 2 weeks, you guys are more than welcome to come to the house that Saturday night or that Sunday night, because I am going to have it on over here. I may have a TV pulled out in the driveway for that matter for it, but
I'm about to say I'm going to be looking through the window. If
oh, absolutely, yeah. We have.
I'm missing this.
What is going to be something that is unprecedented? Something like this has not been done since WCW did this back, like circa 1993, something like that. Mm-hmm. And that is this AEW has the Forbidden Door pay-per-view that's coming up, which it's going to be the Stars of New Japan against the Stars of AEW. You've already saw some of the build-up. You're already hearing some of the trash talk. Switchblade Jay White called out Hangman Adam Page last night at the New Japan show. Do you really want Okada, or do you want a piece of this? Something to that effect.
Yeah.
We already know that we have Tanahashi against Jon Moxley for the interim AEW World Championship. Will Ospreay and Australia, what are their...
United Empire.
Yeah, the United Empire has already invaded. The lead up to this pay-per-view already is being done masterfully, and we're still, 2 shows a week for at least 2 more weeks? We're still a good 4 or 5 shows away from the pay-per-view. You're going to see there's going to be some oh crap moments happen on AEW programming over the next couple of weeks, and if you've got access to New Japan programming, you may see some oh crap moments happening on the New Japan side. You may see a quick fly-in appearance by FTR over there where they come out and lay waste to somebody in the middle of the ring. I just feel like this is something that wrestling fans have wanted for years and years and years. And while a lot of American fans don't know a lot of the Japanese wrestlers, I think when this is all said and done, a lot of American fans will be like, golly, I got to figure out where to watch this.
How about our boy that did the rant the other night that we've talked about off the
They're
thing?
Still talking about that.
Where is he falling in this pay-per-view?
There's no way that you can have that pay-per-view and not have him at least make an appearance.
Yeah.
Where he winds up,
that almost struck me, and because so much language was used, I almost thought, man, you've gone out there and just committed a
career
suicide here. But at the same time, he almost was he trying to flip from heel to good boy?
Well, I tell you what,
he was trying to get his fans on his side.
He's been getting some huge.
He was trying to get fans on his side
by the fans.
It reminds me of when The Rock went out, and The Rock was the most hated wrestler in WWE. That wasn't even a close second. And then all of a sudden, the fans just said, hey, this guy's pretty cool. He's a heel. He's a you-know-what, but I like his style. And that promo MJF cut the other day, there were so many similarities. All these people, it was like, he's so good at his job.
Well, and
why am I booing this guy?
Well, and he did have the fans on his side, and I thought, well, it's a lot of effort to flip the script, but maybe they're giving him.
But you know what he said? You know what he said? He said things that were true. That's the thing.
Yeah, he did.
That's the thing. There wasn't anything he said that wasn't true, and there are smart people that watch wrestling that understand wrestling and were right there along with him, saying exactly what they're saying on social media.
Sure.
And he went out and said it.
Yeah.
Now, was he supposed to say it like that? I don't know.
Well, and again,
is this
they gave him a lot of rope on language.
Real? I don't know.
If that's okay, then that's okay. If management,
I don't know if that was
fine.
okay, but sometimes in wrestling, you got to go out there and you got to take a chance. They give you the ball, and you got one chance to hit a home run.
Well, but we all don't know at this moment, do we?
No,
we don't know.
And I think that's what has made it so brilliant is that,
he sold it pretty good.
He sold it ridiculously well. They even sent CM Punk out there. A lot of people didn't see it, but they even sent CM Punk out there to run him out of the ring as they were going to commercial break, or while commercial break was going on. They actually sent him out there to get him out of there. They played it up.
Did you see him this last show?
No.
Oh, no. He wasn't on the latest show.
No, he was not on the most
Your
recent
take
show.
on that?
So, I mean, I think there's something there, man. I mean, I don't know that. I think they're playing this all up. And I think it's like Scott said. I think you're watching in real time the making of this generation's potentially biggest star, because I think he's going to be that tweener. I think he's going to be that guy that you love to love and you hate to, and you love to hate, and you figure out somewhere there in between, and you never know which way he's going to go. See, Moxley,
he didn't have to change character.
Moxley to me is a lot like that, but Moxley's not as good on the mic as MJF is. MJF reminds me a lot, like Scott said, of The Rock, but he also reminds me of Stone Cold. Because The Rock did change a little bit. He would get a little more comedic when he was a baby face as opposed to when he was a heel. And Stone Cold never changed. It was always, I mean, what am I getting this week? Is he going to be with these guys? Is he going to be against these guys? And he could turn on a moment's notice.
Well, we also compared him, and this is big shoes too, but all these shoes are big, to Flair, because even when Flair was, whether he was a heel or a face, people loved him.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where he was.
Flair was
didn't matter
Flair.
what side he was on.
Because he was Ric Flair.
100%
Ric Flair.
And I think MJF is that way. I think he understands that this is the way Flair did it. Flair never changed.
Not a bad person to role model in that sport.
No.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I have a feeling, and I've said this, I think we're going to see a Kenny Omega sighting.
Oh, I think that.
And I think he turns on AEW.
You could have, I mean,
him and Ibushi team up again.
Well, I mean, I think you could have them as the Golden Lovers. I definitely think you could have that, but I could see it as, I don't know. There's just so many potential angles right there. You've got, you've got the Elite faction right now with Adam Cole.
He's been out long enough that it's about time for him to come back, right?
Did they play some, is there some American Bullet Club versus the Japanese Bullet Club? There's going to be some Bullet Club stuff. There'll be some Bullet Club on Bullet Club crime.
I almost wore the shirt tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you're going to see some stuff within that. I didn't realize this was going on, or we would have tried to get tickets and go, but apparently there is in Knoxville this weekend. Mm-hmm. The NWA is taping a pay-per-view right now, a 2-night pay-per-view, and we've got friends that are up there actually hanging out and watching it, so a little bit envious there.
And I think I saw where SummerSlam is in Nashville.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
At the stadium, or is it going to be in Bridgestone?
Bridgestone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some people know people in Bridgestone.
I was going to say.
Some people.
I thought it was a Nissan, but maybe not.
Yeah, if it's in Bridgestone, we know a few people there.
Possibly.
So, yeah.
Anyway. Anything? Tennessee Georgia All-Star Softball Classic.
When?
Tuesday. Frost Stadium. There's going to be 4 youth games starting at 11 a.m. and then, of course, the big doubleheader at 6 o'clock. Tennessee versus Georgia. Tennessee will be coached by Susan Crownover. I guess be her last high school game.
And we talked about that last week. Susan, amazing career.
Yep.
Congratulations.
And she will be opposed on the Georgia side, I guess fittingly, by Daniel Hackett of Ringo.
Known Daniel a long time as well.
Yeah. And, of course, David Crownover, closely associated with Ringo for years, too. So that'll be that coming up, like I said, Tuesday night at Frost Stadium. If you want to come watch the little girls play at 11, 12:32, and 3:30, I believe, is the times for those games. And then the annual doubleheader, the 24th, Tennessee-Georgia All-Star Softball Classic. And we have got a wide coverage area of girls from Tennessee and North Georgia are going to be in this game, and a lot of players that are moving on to play. I think just about all of them are going to be playing at the college level. Some are going D1, some D2, but they're all very, very talented players.
Typical Tennessee Georgia All-Star game.
Yeah, Bobby Hudgens has done a good job getting that thing put together. I'll be down there doing the PA the entire day, so hopefully my voice will hold out for 6 games, but we'll do the best we can with it.
All right.
Anything else? I have not finished the game show list yet.
Oh, give you a one task, and
do you know how difficult that? Do you know how difficult that? Do you know how difficult that?
You
task
also
is?
told me you've been working on it since college, so I mean, how much longer do I got to stretch it out?
Well, see, you gave me you got to put the game show and the game show host together. Well, that changes.
When he said
now.
he'd been working on this since college, I said, "Well, he's going to have this. He's already got it wrote down." And
that
here we are, 2 weeks later.
Things now. I've got combinations I wouldn't put in my top 10. Well, and the other ones together, I gotta.
It only makes sense, Scott, that you match up the host with the show because they're one and the same.
Not necessarily. You don't understand how difficult this is. The top 5. I've got the top 5. The top 5 is set.
Okay.
After that,
you've got some debate.
And I've got. Well, honest to goodness, I've got about the top 8 finished.
Okay.
And then I've got about 9 or 10 more that I'm trying to figure out who should be 9.
2 games and 2 hosts. Any idea when the deadline will be with this?
I will have it done by middle of this week.
Okay. Please tell me you're not going back to college to try to finish
by the time we do our next show, it will be done.
All right.
And I'll have Rusty will be able to put that together. But anyway, that'll do it for another episode of Scenic City Sports Tonight. For Scott, for Rob, for Rusty, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget Tennessee-Georgia All-Star Game, softball All-Star Game coming up Tuesday night at Frost Stadium over there at Warner Park. Should be a great time. And I guess that'll do it.
Yeah.
For another episode, we will see you guys next week.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of its host and owners and in no way represent the views of the people, institutions, or organizations that Scenic City Sports is involved with in a professional or personal capacity. Thanks for watching and enjoy the show.
Well, the days are short and the nights are long. A room slowly fills with song. All I need is one reminder. Parkway, blue blinders. Well, I begged and cheated and I borrowed for my life upon the road. I'm still looking for some gold at the end of my rainbow. Yes, and someday I will find her on a parkway, blue blinder. On a parkway, blue blinder. Someday I will find her. Yes, and someday I will find her on a parkway, blue blinder. On a parkway, blue blinder. fall like confetti in a New York parade on the parkway. Lonely autumn day, yes, the leaves fall like confetti in a New York parade. In a strange way, I know I care. You and me in truth or dare. So into my lover's eyes I stare. Perfect circles in a square. Yes, and some